Notice, I have observed that the Apostle Paul, whenever he talked about the family, he spoke of a government. He always saw everything as a government. We discussed that topic here just last week, didn't we? First letter to Timothy 3:4. Do you remember? He says widows should manage their homes and bishops should manage theirs. So he always does. Yes, the word church, the church, the crowd itself. That was not the mindset that God had regarding Paul. The goal was to establish a government that would rule over the people. Not today. Today, churches are, well, I go to church on Sundays. I go to experience something mystical. I go to church on Sundays, but that's not it. Paul always believed that the church should be the one to govern the people. That's not just for Sundays and for praying on Wednesdays. Let's pray. No, that was the government. Look, what happened then? Let us look at Galatians 1:18 to better understand what we discussed before. Then after 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem to see whom? Who's Peter? The very first pope, is that right? He was called the first pope, but he was the leader of the circumcision. The leader of all the apostles was Peter. Now look, why does Paul say that in verse 20? Look, show me verse 20. Now concerning the things which I write to you, indeed before God, I do not lie. Why does he have to keep writing that he isn't lying if he only went to see Peter? What does that matter? No, I am not lying about that. And is it important that you went to see Peter? Of course. Because that's when Paul said to him, look, the government of the Old Testament were the judges and David. Who was David? A leader. Solomon, they were God's leaders. In the Old Testament, they were not governments separate from God's men. Believers, but it was God who governed, David governed. So what happens? When Paul goes there, he says, look, a different form of government is coming now. That's why when he ran into Felix and spoke to him of love, of self-dominion, of justice, Felix was horrified and said to him, but then, what are you talking about, Paul? I'm talking about a government. A different government is arriving. They will govern differently, and that government will have statutes called Romans, first letter to the Corinthians, second letter to the Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Colossians, Philippians, first. Those are the statutes. With that is what we are going to govern the world. That garbage they teach. Look, tell me something. What president is setting an example right now? Why? Because what does a president need in order to govern? The power of God, right? Power is not in money. Power is in knowledge. And I am offering to the entire world through those screens a different form of government. And it is all written in the 14 epistles of Paul. And from a young age, we make new schools for children where they are perfect angels. Abba, Father.